Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is Friday, February 22nd, 2019, and this is our weekly eBay and CATAWIKI auction result video. We look back and see how things did that we included in our weekly newsletter that we had picked out, as we do every week. And before we get started on that, I wanted to mention something. A lot of you are aware of it. Earlier this week, we in the past, we've been talking about something we were working on to help collectors, and we put it up last Friday night and did some tinkering with it, and put out a video on Monday explaining what it is we're doing. Each week we get a lot of inquiries from people because the site has grown so much, and we get emails from people wanting to know what things are. They're looking at things in auctions, and it's dozens and dozens and dozens of inquiries every day, and it's rather hard to keep up with and hard to streamline responses to and so forth. So we had to make some changes here and get somebody sort of here to help do some of that, get it organized. And we did it. And if you come over to the homepage now, and you'll see them throughout the site, we're going to sprinkle little links in there. Up here on the menu, it says "Need help with an item," and down on the left side, we've repeated it here in case you miss it up above, because I miss things all the time on websites, and I go, "Oh, where was that?" But anyway, we included it, and what it does is it brings you over to this page. And it explains two basic services that we call them the assistants. And one of them is a preview assistant, and the other one is an identification assistant. The preview assistant is just as it sounds. If you have something you're looking at an online auction anywhere in the world, whether it's on Live Auctioneers or on a self-hosted site, send us the information. There's a form linked off this page on Preview Assistant. We charge $12 fee for it because we have to do some work on it. And send us the information, and we'll get back to you within, usually within 24 hours, sometimes within a few hours, and let you know what we think of the item you're thinking of buying. We might tell you, gee, it's a great thing, it's misdescribed, you got a bargain on your hands, or we'll say, run for your life, don't go near it. And on the other side, we have the thing called the Identification Assistant, which is a similar thing, except this is for things that you own. So you can upload some images, give us some basic information, send us up to 8 images, and we'll be happy to take a look at it. And we'll send back a note and tell you what it is and so forth. And the payments are all done through PayPal. Whether you have a PayPal account or not, you can still use it. And it just takes you there, and it's $12. Send it in, and we'll get back to you. And we'll give you some extra information about it and what it is, what it isn't, and all that. It's I think it's pretty good. But we had to do something because of the amount of traffic we're now getting on this site. Some of you, I mentioned in the video the other day that I was kind of shocked that traffic between the YouTube video here, the YouTube videos, and on Bidamount.com, we're in the 85 to 95,000 views a month. I think the statistic is we're sending about almost 1 million impressions a month over to eBay from the links we put on the site for items. So it's grown a bit, put it mildly. Anyway, thank you all for that. And if you have any questions about this, let us know. And I hope you take part in it because it'll help you maybe save some money. All right, and that's important. All right, and on to eBay. It was a pretty good week. I have to say some things did quite well. This was one of the things that we had up. There was this very nice large silkwork panel, big one, 19th century, but very good quality. Nice quality on this, nice apricot ground, good clear crisp colors with peaches and this fabulous looking peacock. Look at this, the nicely sewn peacock feathers. And this did pretty well. It brought $910, okay? That's not bad at all. I don't know how they could do the shipping on this. According to this, the shipping from Connecticut to here was $11.85. I don't know how they do that. Maybe they're subsidizing it. But anyway, that was a nice silk. That was a good-looking silk. And then on to... let's see, this one. This was that nifty little sort of hard ground enamel square tea caddy. With this color palette and with these dark blue grounds, they're always late 19th, early 20th century pieces, but they're quite attractive. The colors are pretty good. The color values are nice, and this one did pretty well. It brought $675. All right. And then on to this. This was that salmon ground or apricot ground covered food jar with the apocryphal chin lung mark. But it was a nice little pot. Good-looking pot with good colors and so forth. And it did fine. It brought $463. That was when Miguel Larry had that. He's been coming up with some good things lately. And then on to this. This is that very nice looking pair of Kangxi Dishes with overglazed blue enamels with the fellow on the horse. I love the horse. Where's the horse? There it is. And very well done. A nice looking pair. This is a good looking pair of Kangxi Dishes right there, here. And they did well. Okay, they did quite well. They brought $1,180 for the two. This was a seller over in Denmark that we keep an eye on. And he doesn't sell all the time, but he sells fairly often. And when he does, it's good stuff. All right, and then on to this. There were two of these plates, as you recall, last week. These gilt ground export plates, 18th century plates. I thought they were very nice, and they were missing some gilding and so forth, which I mentioned is pretty normal on these. If you find them in absolutely pristine condition, they bring a lot of money because the gilding is so soft. But these were very nice, and this one did quite well. It brought $1,799, and the other example, which is nearly it was very similar from the same palette, I think brought about $1,650. Brought around the same money. All right, nice looking plate. Then on to this was that Famille Rose covered jar, late 19th or late 18th or early 19th century. Here's the foot rim on it. Pretty typical. These are the dating of these is always a little bit tricky, but that V-shaped foot, you see it right up, even on Daguan vases will even have this same shaped foot on it, and the sort of spotty bottom and so forth. So you figure it's a 1790 to 1820s jar, somewhere in there. Good looking pot, and it brought $898, which I don't think was a bad buy. I think that was actually a pretty good buy for that. All right. And then this, the dragon cup. This was the one that had the multicolored dragons running around it. Here it is with the Guangzhou mark on the bottom. And this is a nice looking little cup. It's interesting because earlier this week I saw one that was sent to me, and it was a copy of one of these because they are copying them. But one of the things that's sort of a giveaway on this, and this is a good illustration, the foot rim on this has this sort of creamy, almost like Indian elephant ivory ground. Indian elephant ivory is a little yellower than African ivory. Anyway, it's this sort of yellowish tinge to it, nice and creamy looking, and that's fairly typical of these period examples. All right, and it brought $1,289. A lot of people liked it. It was a good looking beaker though. It was a nice thing. All right. And then on to this, though. These are always called wedding lamps. I don't know where that comes from exactly. Most of these were made after 1900, between 1900 and 1930. They were very popular with decorators. And some of them, I didn't check this one, but a lot of them, they even drilled the bases for cords when they were being made. No, those were drilled later. But sometimes they actually have holes that were made in them at the time to allow for electricity. All right, but these are beautiful to have. If you don't have one of these, a pair of these, keep your eye out for them and get them. They look great lit up in a room. They're great, very atmospheric. And this pair brought $690, which is not a bad price. Very reasonable price indeed. Okay? Excuse me. There we go. And on to this. This, I think, was one of the good buys of the week. A nice looking pair of Chinese cloisonne ground soft blue vases with kingfishers on them. These are pretty nice looking. Here's a picture of the interior. Here's a nice detail shot of it. Here's a picture of the base. Okay, these were well done. Nice looking pair. Not horribly old, but good quality. And from the first part of the 20th century probably. And they brought $250, which isn't bad at all. Okay, those were nice looking pair of cloisonne jars. And they were good size. They were a foot tall each. All right. That was a good buy. And then on to this, the Celadon piece. This was a nice Celadon piece, probably late Ming Dynasty, judging by the foot. It's got all that iron, the iron oxide staining, and then the nice crackle bottom, slightly different coloration crackle here than on the sides of the jar itself, which is pretty normal. All right, here's the nice looking crackle up here, beautifully done. Sort of a mallet form vase, and it did pretty well, but it didn't go crazy. It was 9 inches tall. It brought $718. I think that was a nice purchase, a good value. And on to this was the Duan stone landscape plaque that we talked about a little bit. I happen to like these. I've had a lot of them over the years. This was a nice one. And the other day, I think when we first talked about it, it was up to around $400 or $500 or something, and we sort of speculated what it would bring in the $1,200 to $1,400 range, $1,500, somewhere in there. And in the end, that's where it ended up. The pricing on these is fairly consistent. It brought $1,578 or 1,200 pounds. Which is right on the money. That's but it's a nice plaque, all right? And somebody will put that on a good-looking stand and really have something nice. All right, and then on to these, the pair of dishes. There were two of these pairs. Here's a picture of the back of it. All right, these iron decorated ones with the figures, and then within these very cool swag borders. And they did fine. They brought $510, and I think the other pair brought about the same. This is a seller we know up in New Hampshire that gets interesting things. He's a very busy seller, and he's been selling more things at auction lately. So we've been sort of keeping an eye on Steve up there, see what he's up to. All right, and then on to this. This was a nice fan. Now, this was a Gilt Lacquer Fan, and what was nice about it was in really pristine condition from the way we looked at it pretty carefully before we got started. One blade had a slight line in the lacquer, but that was about it. And the rest of it looked very good, and there was not any wear on the lacquer at all. No wear on the gilding. Looked very good. Okay, and condition on these lacquer fans is crucial because they're almost impossible to get fixed. And this one brought $1,125, and it was probably made around 1830 or 40. Good looking fan. I liked it. I like fans. And then on to this, one of these first half of the 19th century rose mandarin export plates with this very happy looking horse. And some visitors coming with their horse to see some people, sort of a social scene. Quite attractive. Here's the back of it, typical 1820 to 1840 foot rim. And it did fine. It brought $240, which is right in the range. If it had a lot more gilding, the thing I'll point out is if the figures had a lot more gilding on their faces and in their hair than this one, this was a little light on the gilding. It had a lot of gilding. The price on this plate, and they included a lot of it in the rim, would have been up around $400 or $500. Gilding makes a big difference on these, all right, price-wise. And then hopping over to here was this yellow vase. This was that Famille June, second half of the 19th century export vase. Nice little vase, though. I thought it was perfectly charming. About 9 inches tall, 10 inches tall. And it went for a very reasonable price, $134. And again, this is one of those things, if you don't have an endless wallet and you're being a little careful, good thing to buy. Good thing to buy, always. And then on to the next one. Let's see here. This was the yellow ground Famille June and Famille Rose teapot. It's based on a Qinlong style, but this was a later teapot. This was a 20th century pot, in my opinion. Had a 4-character Qinlong mark, but it wasn't Qinlong. Decoration was perfectly good on it, but a nice looking little pot. And if you're not in the position to spend, $50,000 or $100,000 on one, this is a perfectly good thing. It went for $600, but very pretty, nice tone, nice color on it. All right, and then on to this. This was that little iron red Daguan bowl. This is a form that they made throughout the 19th century. You see them at varying periods, but this one was particularly well decorated. Had good looking, sort of that celadon, soft celadon interior, and then divided with these gilt bands and so forth. Here's a picture of the end. Nice iron red decoration with a softer red framing it, and these lappets running around the bottom. Here's the rain mark on it, and it looked to be period. It looked perfectly nice, and it did very well. It brought $3,300, and this was from Pud out in Ohio, a good picker out there we keep an eye on. We see his stuff every week. I don't know where he finds his stuff. He's always looking. And then back to this. This was that nice-looking carved lacquer vessel with the cover and the replaced finial that was very reminiscent of the cloisonné example that sold about a month ago in shape and form, same general shape, and thought it was really, really nice. And so did a lot of people, apparently. It brought $5,888, which is a good price for that. But a fairly rare form and good carving, and it was a 19th century one, but unusual. And along with it was this plate. This was that nice-looking plate with the persimmons and butterflies and all that business going around it. Had a few bumps and nicks out of it. but that's the way it is. Okay, and again, a 19th century one. And it also did pretty well. It brought $2,225. All right. So this was also Pud. Pud's been busy in houses, I guess, out there. And then on to this, the Kangxi Bowl. Looked to be missing a cover, but it was nice decoration, rather pleasing. Somewhat rustic, the way it was drawn. Good translucent enamels, not too thick. Nice tonality to the red. Nice, neat outlining, and all the things you want to see. And this one did pretty well. It brought $510. And this was a seller, again, in Denmark. There's a lot of good stuff in Denmark, as many of you know. There's a long history there of trade, especially during the Kangxi period and the Qianlong period going into that part of the world. And there's a lot of collections over in that part of Northern Europe. All right, and then on to this was that very pretty, very robustly colored cobalt blue Kangxi dish with rue heads and lotus blossoms and just very strong colors on this. This was a nice thing. Here's the back of it. It's got that grooved foot rim that you see on Kangxi pieces fairly often, but good solid looking colors all the way around. It had one hairline here, tiny little nick. But nothing too. But that nick probably is a result of fritting. There's a lot of fritting on the edge over here too, done at the firing. But at any rate, it did pretty well. It brought $1,469, and this was about an 8-inch dish. But what sold it was the color. The color was really good on this. Good deep sapphire blue, nice blue. Okay, and when you look at Kangxi pieces, the ones with these deep blues among the blue and whites are the ones that always bring, I think, the best money and the most interesting. All right, and then we'll hop over here and see what's coming up. This is the for this coming week on eBay and CATAWIKI. All right, there's a few things, good things. We've sort of figured out a way to display CATAWIKI things so that they don't run out. They should relist. The pages should be refreshed and updated as they go along during the week, because we were finding that by Wednesday or Thursday all the stuff was gone or a few things were left, and it was sort of a nuisance to look. And I noticed over on the forum a couple of people said, they wish that they would open up CATAWIKI transactions to people living in Australia and Canada, and I have been harping at them behind the scenes about this for a while. The part of the problem is that they have these delivery requirement schedules for their sellers, and they're trying to figure out a way that they can satisfy that requirement and ship long distance to Australia. I don't understand what the problem is, honestly, because eBay certainly, we do it. A lot of sellers do it. They ship all over the world, and Australia and Canada are not a problem. They shouldn't be from anybody in the EU, but I'm hopeful eventually they'll stop. Open up their market to more destinations than they currently have. I'm a little frustrated by that. But at any rate, let's see what they do. All right. But over there, there's come nice things up there this week. There's this Kangxi dish with these sort of exuberant looking leafy forms coming up and the flowers on the rim. These are all active right now. This nice Famille pair of oblong vases without lids, but good colors. 18th century. I'm not convinced that they're Kangxi, but they're good color and nicely decorated and good enamels and good potting. And then there is this nice looking little Kangxi dish. I haven't looked up what the scene is depicting, but it looks like something that you could probably suss out with a little homework. The border decoration on it is rather nice, and that's on there. These just went up. These have 7 days to go, so check them out. And then this Kangxi blue and white plate, a nice one. It's got that sort of faux, who knows what the heck it means, mark on the back that they sometimes used on these. There it is. It's a molded dish, but perfectly nice. And over to eBay, there's a bunch of stuff up. One of them is this very nice Famille plate. This was something Grand Pip put up, and it's a beautiful example with fish in the border, and then the perched bird above the flowers, and this is obviously a willow tree. Nicely done. Here's the back of it. Okay, very typical reverse on this thing. And we'll see how that does. And he's got a bunch of stuff up that we're going to add. And also this is a nice little, this is a UK Pickers online. They sell a lot of stuff. This company has 300 or 400 listings at a time, but they're not all Chinese. They sell jewelry and watches and all kinds of things. They seem to do estate clearances, but they get nice looking estate stuff, as we say in the trade. And they have this nice-looking Kangxi Chinese Amari teapot. It's got a little nick out of it, some fritting on the edge of the teapot lid, which is fairly typical, but looks to be a perfectly good example. And we'll see how that does coming up in the next week. Alrighty, and that's it. I hope you all had a good week. It's 45 degrees here today. The cold seems to be going away. The snow is starting to have a February thaw, which is very welcomed. And we'll be back next week. We're working on a variety of things. We're still trying to work out something with eBay, dealing with lawyers, and everything else is fine. So if you haven't subscribed yet to us over here, please do. Join us on YouTube and subscribe to us over at Bidamount.com for the weekly newsletter. Check out the 2 assistant programs we've started for auctions and things that you have. Join the forum, take part, and send us questions or anything you need to know about. Alrighty, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.